We're going to be talking about depression and anxiety in teenagers and how GCSEs can affect it.
In a recent survey, we asked the following questions.
Have you suffered from anxiety?
Do you suffer from anxiety due to school?
And are you anxious about failing your GCSEs?
48% of students answered that they have suffered from anxiety and 4% weren't sure.
52% of students said they suffered from anxiety due to school.
And 69% of students responded that they were anxious about failing their GCSEs.
However, as stressful as school and education is, it's not the only factor.
Some problems include romantic problems such as breakups,
Social anxiety due to peer pressure,
traumatic events like separating or divorcing parents, and finally, education.
From when we are in Year 9, 2 years before the actual exams, students have enormous amounts of pressure put on us. School very quickly becomes focused on what we will need to do to pass exams, and we have the constant reminder that our future will be affected by our ability to pass exams as teenagers. We are piled with homework and tired, not just from work, but the idea of failing expectations.
Young Minds is a charity that helps young people who have mental health issues. Lucy Russell from Young Minds said, "We need to do much more to protect young people, help them to develop resilience and support them when they find life hard to cope with." To talk some more about mental health, we have a short video with our mental health leaders.
We all know that teachers have to apply pressure during GCSEs in order for us to succeed. However, do you think too much pressure is put on overall?
Teachers do actually want you to achieve, and you're at a grammar school because you are able to achieve. So I think sometimes we all need to have a bit of pressure put on us. Do I think too much pressure? It would be, you'd have to think about the individual pupil really to get an answer to that, because some are more able to take it than others. I think society puts a lot of pressure on you because you have to get so many GCSEs to be able to move forward with your life. So I'm not going to say teachers, but I'm going to say that it's a lot for young people at your age, but it's for your benefit.
How can students cope better with exam stress?
Right, so what I would say for exam stress, definitely start your revision early. Do as much work as you can, even if it's only a few minutes here and a few minutes there. Those few minutes can make a big difference to your results. You might just spend 5 minutes revising a question that comes up in the exam. So that's my first tip. The second tip is remember that this is only one step in your life, so try not to stress about it. It's an important step, but it's not the be all and end all.
Last question. There has been a big increase in media coverage of teenage mental health lately. Do you think that exam pressures can be a cause of this?
I would say no. I think there are other outside influences which are affecting young people today. Mainly social media, computers, the expectations that are being put on young people today. I think those are unfair, too high, and it's difficult for young people. So when you put everything together, I think that's what's causing a lot of the mental health issues in young people.
Is it filming?
Yeah.
Okay. We all know that teachers have to apply pressure during GCSEs in order for us to succeed. However, do you think that too much pressure is put on overall?
I think it's down to the students about the amount of pressure that they put on themselves. I'm aware that teachers obviously do put pressure on students. I feel like with the right guidance and the right time frame, pressure can be handled well, but if the pressure is applied too late or with very short notice, then that is when I think pressure can turn into stress, and then stress I think is not dealt with well, whereas I think pressure can be handled.
How can students cope better with exam stress?
Again, I'm going to say timing, not leaving everything to the last minute, planning ahead, thinking about what you need to do, but not spending all day thinking about what you needed to do and not doing it. You know, writing down a hit list, trying to tick off that hit list, setting timings, saying, right, I'm going to do 20 minutes of this, I'm going to have a 10-minute break, I'm going to do 20 minutes of this. 2 hours a night or an hour and a half a night would make the world of difference. But thinking, oh, I haven't got time to do anything tonight, and then the next night, no, I'm time then, and then by the end of the day, you could get to the weekend, you've not done anything for 5 days, and you're thinking, oh my God, I've got 6 hours of revision to do. And again, the stress and the pressure becomes too much. So I think dealing with it, managing your time, not thinking constantly about what you need to do, and actually doing what you need to do.
There's been a big increase in media coverage of teenage mental health lately. Do you think that exam pressures can be a cause of this?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I think that teenagers are under a lot of pressure, and I think our teenagers now are more aware of their emotions and feelings than they ever have been ever before. And I think this is a great thing. I think that because of this, teenagers and people in general are thinking far too much about how other people perceive them and what they think of them. And actually what students should be doing is putting themselves forward and thinking of themselves and putting themselves first and trying to think about what would make them happy, doing what would make them happy, rather than trying to please everybody else or trying to fit into some social norm. I think that would help.
We all know that teachers have to apply pressure during GCSEs in order for us to exceed. However, do you think that too much pressure is put on overall?
I think that's a really good question. I kind of question the word pressure here. I think teachers are trying to motivate students as best they can, and sometimes that might feel like pressure, but it's trying to motivate so they do as best they possibly can in their GCSEs and at Key Stage 5 as well. Unfortunately, the pressure is coming from the system at the moment, and how so many schools all schools are judged on exam achievements through league tables, how the government and the media present the league tables, and so there is pressure about the exam system on the teachers, and unfortunately therefore I think on the students as well. But no teacher is trying to put pressure on their students, they're just trying to motivate them.
How can students cope better with exam stress?
That's a really good question as well, and something that I'm trying to help my students with as best I can, talking about self-care and talking about something called mindfulness. We do quite a lot of that in our school, and it's a way of basically making sure that you can notice if you're worrying or if you're getting too anxious about something. So we run mindfulness classes here, and we do some mindfulness courses for Key Stage 4 and 5. But it's more than that, you know, mindfulness is for some people, not for others. It's about encouraging students to look after themselves, get outside every day, do some gentle exercise, make sure that their life isn't narrowed to seeing success and failure in the academic areas, you know, thinking about music, thinking about drama, and that's what we do really well here. We make sure that we've got extracurricular options to help just give a bit of balance to life. I think you can lose that balance sometimes when you're doing your exams and preparing for exams. So making sure there's balance with, even if you just get outside, and making sure that it's socialised, not just on students on their phones, but face to face, chatting to each other and connecting with each other is really helpful as well.
There has been a big increase in media coverage of teenage mental health lately. Do you think that exam pressure can be a cause of this?
So I think exams do have an impact on students' mental health. I think there's other things that are to play as well. I think social media and the rise in social media and how it impacts on everyone's lives now, especially young people's lives, I think that's really had an impact on mental health. So I think there's quite a lot of research gone into showing that. When I was your age, I could go home, shut the door and feel a bit of respite from the day at school, whereas you've got social media, you know, following you to home, and there's not that respite that we had in previous generations. I think from thinking about how you're perceived and how you come across to your peers, I think that's probably quite stressful as well, so that has an impact on mental health.
Given that GCSEs have changed recently, do you think there are any issues with the new format?
So GCSEs have changed recently. They've changed many times in my career, at least 2 or 3 times, and I think I've got one word answer for that one, and yes, there are some issues. It's not a school thing, it's a nationwide thing.